What's going on, everyone? Dan Julien here, nurse practitioner from Dan Aesthetics Medical. We're going to be doing an Instagram Live with Injector Bunny. It's going to be a fun one today. You know, anytime any of us have gone into medical aesthetics, if you're really willing to put yourself out there, then you got to put yourself online, and you have to be kind of like relentless with it, and you have to kind of like do it with some way of blocking out the noise, which is very difficult to do because our egos get in the way a lot of the times, and this is what that segment's all about. Injector Bunny is very well known on social media. I think she has like over 300,000 followers now. She's everywhere when it comes to teaching, marketing, and just branding herself. I think she does that very well. One of the best in the industry, in my opinion. And I'll hear things, negative comments about her, or I'll see her post something once in a while about like, you know, just like, don't worry about the haters, and the haters are going to hate me, kind of like saying this. I'm like, man, she must get a lot of hate. So I know because I get my own fair share. So we're going to compare notes, and we're going to see how we both deal with it, how she deals with it, and maybe spill a little tea. So let me introduce Erika, and let's chat.
Hey. Hi. I did Easy Gel today with Christina, and so I'm looking a little rough today.
Oh, it's okay.
I don't know. Have you done Easy Gel before? I don't know.
No, you know what? So when I was in Switzerland, there was a nice presentation about it, and I really want to bring it into my practice. Unfortunately, it's weird. Like, it's not Health Canada approved, but it's interesting because it's just PRF, I guess, and there's no additive in the tube whatsoever. You're just kind of heating it, cooking it, making it into a gel form, and then just re-injecting it. So it's one of those things where, you know, there's definitely something that I want to look a little bit more into, because I know that there's a lot of people who are really interested in this, and I think there's a big demand for it, and there's a big market for it. So
so many of my patients that aren't tear trough candidates or have really crepey skin, for me, I just wanted to try it to see what it felt like too, and wanted a little bit more structure under my eyes. But I'm such a baby, and there's no lidocaine in it, so I was like, holy moly, it hurts so badly. Not that it hurts badly, but just, you need more lidocaine for sure.
So how are you, by the way? How's business?
Business is amazing. Things are really good. They're insane. Recently, I've been trying to cut back my hours of injecting, and it hasn't worked out well. I tried to go down to 2 days a week of injecting and training, and I have amazing staff. But you know how it is, like training staff, you want your injectors to know the most. So Mondays are like my admin training days, and seeing patients Tuesdays and Thursdays, Patreon and all that kind of stuff. And conference season is like gearing up. It starts with basically New Wave was this month, but then AES is coming up in August, and then Aesthetic next. So starting in August, I'll be rocking and rolling, but things have been really good. Thank you for asking. How about you? How are things going with you?
Good. Yeah, we just came back from Switzerland, kind of similar with you. Like, it's nice. Summer here, there's a little bit of a lull, so I'm going to try and, you know, spend some time being outside, because winters here are pretty brutal. So whenever like the warm weather's here, we're just taking full advantage of playing tennis, trying to play some golf. But I always feel guilty now when I do these things. I'm like, I should be at my business. I should be like doing something. It's like this ridiculous guilt that we have all the time.
No,
it feels like we never do enough.
No, you can't have guilt. I definitely have learned not to have guilt. Like, my patients come first, safety always, like thinking about them. Like I will always have like immense guilt thinking about that. But like when it comes to everything else, I tell injectors this all the time: stop with the FOMO, stop with thinking you have to be at every conference, because so many injectors text me, where should I go? Can I do this? Should I do this? I can't. I'm like, I'm away every weekend. I'm like, your number one priority is your family. Yeah. Like, that is it. Like, that's your number one priority. Everything else can, you know, fall by the wayside. It's okay to miss a conference. It's okay to miss a lecture. Enjoy your summer. Like, you only get so many of them. Freaking enjoy them.
So, I mean, right off the bat, that's kind of like where we're doing this IG Lives, because, you know, you're very busy. You co-own a business. You also have your side business, which is Patreon. You probably put more time into that than anything. Like, you're cutting down, you have to cut down your hours, yet you still find a way to make it with your family. Yet, because you're willing to put yourself out there and you know how important that is, like, it's not like winging it. I could see exactly what you're doing. Like, you know exactly what you're doing. You have a great plan. You have like a team working around you. There's a lot of thought process and a lot of time and investment into that. Yet people are still going to throw shade your way. You know, I just want to know how you deal with it, or did you already have like a plan on how you dealt with it, or is this something you kind of just figured out as you went, and you're like, did it bother you at one time, and then you're like, okay, I have to figure this out, and this is how I deal with it, or did you have something set up at the beginning?
Well, I've been doing this now since 2012, basically. So I started Instagram 2015. So I've been in the game a long time. And when I first started, it was brutal. And I started off like not knowing what I was doing, probably putting out a lot of cringy things. I was really young. I was like in my 20s. I had no idea what I was doing.
Same.
Then met Libby, and she kind of helped curate my Instagram and my TikTok and all my following. But then basically when you become popular, people are like, what is this girl doing? Like, oh, she must be doing X, Y, and Z. And the hate kind of comes for you. And it hurts. I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't want to sit here and lie and say like, oh, it's amazing. Like, there were years where I would like cry to my husband or cry to Libby and just like show, and especially this happens on Instagram. I know you guys can relate to this, that someone will comment on my story, especially about my son or like something, I don't know, like one time it was like about my wedding dress, and they commented like, wow, she looks so ugly. And they, instead of like sending it to someone else, they sent it to me. And I was like, you sent this to me. Anyone that says that that doesn't hurt them, like, you're lying, because it does. But then I started to realize when I would have jealousy towards someone, or when I would like think something in my head, I immediately was like, oh, you're jealous of this person, you're envious, or you're negative, you're going through something hard. And then that like mindset, that attitude changed really quickly in my head, where I realized someone that's giving you hate, hurt people. So then I like changed my attitude altogether, and I literally just put on blinders. I'm like, my goal is to educate as many injectors as possible, to create this loving community. Because when I first started, I was basically like laughed at, and people would just whisper about me and like whisper about my outfits while injecting or whatever. Like, and I definitely was like, I'm going to change the game, and I'm going to make sure when injectors walk into the room, they feel confidence and they feel good about themselves, because they will instill that in their patient. And the goal here isn't the way we look on Instagram. It's not how many conferences we go to. It's not our posts. It is our patients and their results and their happiness. So when you keep that in mind, then it really changes the game. And then you just get over your bullshit. And whenever I start to feel sorry, I'll like have 5 minutes where I'm like, what was me? And then I'm like, you know what? Get your ass up, shut up, and get back to work. And that's what I have to say. Like, whenever you feel sorry for yourself, you are so lucky to be an injector. Do you know how many people would die to change places with you? So stop complaining. Like, I don't want to hear complaining. I'm like, and my Patreon peeps all the time, I'm like, stop your whining. People would beg to be in your position. On the news today, there was a nurse that was in Israel and Gaza, and we were like bitching about injecting people. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So at some point, you just have to be like, haters are one thing, but it is, my Kobe says this, no one hates the good ones, they hate the great ones. So whenever you're hated on, be like, I'm like, give yourself a pat on the back. You're doing something right.
Oh, that's great. Do you still feel sad, or sometimes does it get to you, or do you feel like now you've had like deflectors, like it's just like a deflector now at this point?
Oh my gosh, of course. I have to say I have like an 80-20 rule with anything. So 80% of the time I'm blinders, hardcore, wake up early, workout, like in the zone. And then 20% of the time I'm like, what am I doing? Like, am I really just like injecting Botox and filler? And like, what am I, like, I have those moments, like you have to. And I just keep my head in the game. And it takes this one patient to say, you changed my life. Like, I was going through something and you changed, like, and that like fills my soul. Or one Patreon member to say, like, you allowed me to open my own business, or you allowed me to like take the first jump out of bedside nursing to becoming an injector. Like, that keeps me going. So I can like sit here and cry about it. But like, you just have to keep on working hard, and people will constantly be coming for you. And Lee Walker taught me this, and he had like a come to Jesus talk with me probably about last year this time, and he's like, girlfriend, it's gonna keep getting worse and worse. Like, people are gonna come for you, they're gonna make things up, they're gonna keep coming for you. You have to find a way to just stand up taller. And I'm like, okay. So if Lee Walker could tell me that, then I can keep on going.
That's awesome. I had like kind of like a little bit of a different approach whenever I first came in. I think I had like a ball game, and I kind of knew, well, whenever I first took my course in medical aesthetics, you know, we all have doubts. Like, we all basically, especially if you're any form of nurse, even as a nurse practitioner, I think even GPs probably feel that way, because there's still always this level of competition against the plastic surgeons. You're always going to hear plastic surgeons like say, you need to see a double board certified plastic surgeon, and you'll see a derm say, you need to see a board certified derm, and then it goes all the way down. And it's just, you know, a lot of it is marketing, but at the same time, that affects you. You're like, how am I ever going to make it here? Yeah. And one of the things that really helped me was whenever I took my first course, there was Amira. She was an RPN. She was super successful. She was doing this already for 15 years, and that was her goal, was to open up a clinic. And I was like, wow, if she can do that as an RPN, man, I could do that. So, whatever can relate to you, that really helps. And that was the first thing that gave me, my first boost of confidence, saying, okay, I can make this. And a lot of people out there, I ended up finding that out this weekend in Switzerland, where a lot of people who pay to go or going to this conference, they're like, you kind of feel like, you've got this natural gift. Like you've got, the look, you've got like the presence, like everything goes well for you. I don't look like you. I don't talk like you. Like, I don't even know if I can relate to you because it just seems like it's effortless, but it really is more than that. And it's when people say that, they don't see the real difficulties that are in line for this person. Like for me, there's a lot of insecurities I had, and I kind of opened up for the first time, and I'll open up here. Like basically for me, right off the bat, like I have an essential tremor. I have to take propranolol to like basically make sure I don't shake every day. I was born with that. And I thought going into medical aesthetics, the first time taking the course, I'm like, man, I'm never going to make this. Like, this is going to be my downfall. And then after that, Trump ended up like, everyone made fun for his small hands. I have like tiny hands and I wear black gloves, and I'm like, I'm going to have to post out like in social media, and people are going to comment this, and people do comment like ridiculous things like, oh, you have adorable hands. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you serious?
The crazy thing.
And these are minor things. There's a lot more that I can go in depth with, basically my history and where I came from. And I was like the dumb one out of all my friends. Like there's a whole history there that a lot of people don't know that stays in your psyche. Always. And even though someone looks the part, you don't know what they're thinking, what they're internalizing. And I had to come in with a game plan right off the bat in order to have the confidence to make a YouTube channel, because I'm telling you, I think it's probably one of the most difficult things to do. And I think a lot of people are aware of that, because you're really putting yourself out there to be critiqued. Like whenever I was putting myself out there, I was like, be the face for Canada. I got to post every week for 3 years. And doesn't matter what happens, what anyone says, post. And if someone's giving me critique, I'm going to actually take it as a learning experience, and that will help me. But kind of the other thing, like you said, the other thing is haters are usually kind of like people who are insecure. Barack Obama, like whenever he was elected in the States, I said as part of my presentation, like 49% of the country voted against him, but he's in. Not everyone's going to like you. And that's the one thing that I also learned, was you can't appease to everyone. You got to do your own thing, and not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. But you have to have a plan to make sure that it's kind of like deflected. And I think really what helped me was having this crazy goal of being the face of Canada. The people initially who gave me kind of shade were usually local competition. Like it was a lot of providers locally, and I was like, well, that's okay. Like they're trying to be the big dogs in Ottawa, and I'm not aiming for that. So if they want to be the big dogs in Ottawa, great. I'm aiming for something totally different and have a different vision. Yeah. Let me do my thing, but good on you. And kind of like those little things help.
Well, Canada's rough, I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm a tomboy, and I never had girlfriends. I played sports my whole life, but all my friends were dudes. And I felt like a lot of comfort in that. And then same thing in my career, went to Hopkins, then started at UCSF. So I was trained by all surgeons. They're all male surgeons. There was one female surgeon, and they were hardcore. And it was just like, I deal with directness really well. And I was kind of dumb and naive to think there's like no behind the scenes or like backstabbing, or people in aesthetics that would literally look at you and be like, oh my God, I love you. And then they would turn around and be like, oh my, and I have a horrible story, but I just remember being at a conference and this girl was like, I love you so much. Like, thank you. You're so inspiring. And then I left, and I walked to my room, and they thought they heard a door open, but my key didn't open it. And they're like, oh my God, she's so cringy. Like her Instagram posts and stories are terrible. Like her outfits are insane. And I heard it, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? And I was like, my heart was pounding. I was like, do I say something? And I just went in my room. I'm like, just shrug it off. Like people, you never know what they're going through. But I definitely did not deal well with aesthetics at first, because I was so confused by oh, you have to go out and get your patients. And that's what creates the competitiveness. Is it's not like the hospital where you go in, you see a patient with a laceration, you suture them, they go home. It's very much like you have to cultivate this community, and there's a competitive nature, and you have to go into it knowing that, prepare, like you said, prepare for it. And you have to find your core crew. I have a core crew that I just can trust with my life, and they know it, I know it, and we can vent to each other. But then just take everything else. Don't take it personally, because if you take it personally, that's when you're going to be shattered by things. And I've had so many friends quit aesthetics because they can't handle it. When it comes to everything, don't take it personally. When someone's talking shit about you, it's nothing about you. It really isn't. It's something about them, and give them love. And the best way to win over any hater or anyone is invite them out for drinks. And that's what I do. I literally am like, let's go get margaritas. Let's go get a drink. And then if they say no, That's on them. You were the kind one. You were the professional one. You were the one that's like reaching out a hand, like, let me help you. If they want to spit on your hand, that's fine. You just be cordial and you never gossip. And I will not gossip about anyone. There's no point in doing that. So when someone comes to you and wants to gossip, just nod your head and walk away, smile, and just like be awkward for a second and just don't say anything back because people love to gossip.
I know, it's like a feeding frenzy. Once people start like opening up a little bit, even if you thought about like maybe what they said, like you just gotta, because if that was happening to you, then I guess that's just hypocritical, right?
Patients love it. My patients all the time are like, oh, I got injected by this person. What do you think? What do you think about their Instagram? What do you think? I'm like, I don't lie. I'm not saying but I'll sit there and be like, I think they're wonderful. Like, I really just say, I think they're great. Even if I maybe am not in love with their whatever, I'll just like be very cordial because that makes you look bad in front of the patient too. Like if you're talking trash, that makes you not look, classy. Just keep it classy, cordial, but it is hard. Have a drink. Sometimes like you just have to have some margaritas.
And that's exactly it, right? So everyone's injection style is to their own, right? Yes. So my injection style was more like Arthur Swift style, but there's a lot of other people who are very much like DeMaio style, like Mauricio DeMaio style, where it's like, and initially, whenever I was like, oh my God, I would never do the codes. Like, this is definitely like paint by numbers. And I would say these things. And later on, I would look at a lot of people who were doing the work. And I was like, man, that's actually some really good work that they're doing there. And it's just another way of doing it. And there's also, people have different views on how to inject, right? Like Lee Walker, right? He's big TXN right now. And he's definitely all with, injecting some deep, some superficial, some in there. And I have my view on that too, but that's okay. It's not, I would never say he's wrong. I would say basically in the end, I have my opinion on how I would inject, but at the same time, man, he's a great injector, right? Like who am I to say that this is wrong? It's a possibility that I don't know what I don't know, in the sense that he's probably learned something that's changed his view on how to inject. And as a result, I haven't heard that yet. And it's a possibility that it might sway me at one point, but we're all still learning. And for us to kind of like push down someone who's doing things differently is not right. Same thing with business models, right? So, we have a business that's next to us. They're literally next door. They're a high volume clinic. For us, it's very different. It's very much trying to give like very high end, retain clients. Yeah. And some people bash on that, but for me, I'm like, listen, that's just a different model and it works for them. This is a business and they're willing to put themselves out there and it seems to be working for them. So good on them. It's just a different model. But you're right. Whenever you start bashing on other people, it doesn't help anyone. All it does is like feed in this negative frenzy and then you get caught.
I mean, we all do it. Like you can't sit here and say you never do it. Like you do it, but you have to like catch yourself and realize like, oh, why am I doing this? Or like, why am I thinking this way? And the best injectors know that there are so many different ways to inject, different products, different techniques, different ideals. Like there are so many different ways. So you have to realize that.
What's probably been, if there's one example that you've dealt with hate that really stuck with you, is there one that you'd be willing to share and kind of like say how you even dealt with it?
Oh my gosh. I think this is like 10 years ago. This is like not a recent thing. So when I came out of the hospital and I was working at a med spa, I was the brand new kid in the block in the med spa. There was 4 other injectors and the owners basically just hired me on and didn't introduce me. Like, hey, this is Erika Barry. She's going to be working with you. And the girls were so mean to me. They used to like hide supplies and try to like move patients from my book to their book. And it was just such a new thing because I didn't have a lot of girlfriends. All my friends were dudes. Like where I came from is a surgery background where you all worked together. You all did each other's discharge paperwork. You all like admitted each other's patients. Like you all like worked in a core group. So this was so new to me. And this happens to me. I'm a very kind of like easygoing person, but I'm Aries. I basically will be like even keeled until like one little screw gets like out of place. And then I was like, listen, elephant in the room, you guys are bitches. Like you guys are not good people. Like I'm not dumb. Like I know what's happening here and I guarantee you I will win. And I will win because I am a good injector and I care and I want you guys to succeed too. So that's how I'm going to win. I'm not going to win because I'm going to make the most money or see the most patients. I'm going to win because I'm a happy person and I care about my career and I care about my patients. And that is the bottom line. And they all just looked at me like, oh my God. And then one like rolled her eyes and walked out of the room. I'm like, okay, well that didn't win. And then I was like, okay, that didn't win. I'm going to guys, let's go out for drinks. And then I won them over with like alcohol.
Kill with kindness.
Tequila. And then we all had this common ground, and the common ground is we all hated the owners we worked for, because it's hard. It's like hard working for people that aren't there. And then we had this like common bond, and it's like being a soldier in the war kind of, and had, you know, the best friendship after that. But you really have to address the drama, because if not, it's going to eat you alive, and then you're going to hate your work. If you pull into your med spa, owners, you work for someone, you work anywhere, if you pull into your med spa parking lot and you have that pit in your stomach, you have to address it, because you're going to be miserable. And there's nothing worth being that like anxious over. So really important that you address it. Don't you agree? Have you ever had a job? Did you ever work for someone else that you had that anxiety over, or you just went straight from school to owning your own place?
It was kind of like a transition where I went to a spa, but the spa did not like, they were great, but at the same time, they didn't have my crazy vision of like, you know, this outlandish goal of, you know, trying to be Face Canada and wanting to post all the time. And they're like, no, we're going to post like once a month and it's going to be meticulous. And it's like, well, I'm like, okay, well, that's not my vision. But no, I think I definitely had to deal with some stuff like working in the ward, like working on the nursing floor, particularly with a lot of nurses, like, you know, that's just the thing. And I still have to deal with that a little bit. I think I'm going to take your advice on that, because it's something that I've been meaning to do. There's a couple people like near here that I was pretty close with before. And then after that, whenever I got into medical aesthetics, we kind of like just fell off, because, you know, you just hear stuff that was done to you in the past. Like, you know, it's been multiple Instagram lives that I've done where after I do the Instagram live, I find out from that person or from someone else, you know, sending me some shade or telling me like, hey man, you got some hate on that from this person, and they're from Ottawa. I was like, I don't even want to know who it is. And in the end, that's it. So for me, I think it's mostly competition driven. You know, it's difficult whenever, like, I came up pretty fast. Like, it's only been 5.5 years that I've been on in medical aesthetics, and it took me 3 years to kind of get known. And I get it, you know, whenever it's a grind. This business is a grind. Mm-hmm. And I get whenever people have put in like 15 years, and it took them 15 years to finally get to their goal, and then all of a sudden you see this young up and comer just takes off and has the gall to kind of say, I'm going to be the face of Canada. Like, F this guy, you know, he hasn't put in the work yet.
Yeah, but
and
like, it's not that serious. Like, that's what I have to say. Like, have a good sense of humor. Like, that to me is most important. Like, you have to laugh at yourself, and please just like don't take things too seriously. When someone comes at you, like, laugh it off. In 100 years, we're not going to be here. We're all going to be dead. No one's going to even know who the hell Injector Bunny is. I will be dead in the ground. Like, maybe Jack will remember me, or he'll, like, it's not that serious. Enjoy your time on this earth, and like, freaking just put your time in. But also, if you're not loving what you're doing and you have that pit, listen to it and get the hell out. Run.
Yeah. The toughest ones are the ones that, like, when you know them, right? If they're like friends of yours or something like that, that's when it gets difficult. For me, anyone else, it doesn't matter. And there's one thing that really, like, if there's one tip that I can give a lot of people that helped me get into this kind of like mindset of just like deflect. And I've kind of been doing that ever since, or right off the bat, was whenever I did play competitive sports. I ended up, you know, I talked about this a little bit in the past with some presentations, but I ended up reading about sports psychology. And a lot of times whenever you take lessons, you're like really dedicated to the sport, even the top, like the elites of elites. Like right now, there's Roland Gallo tennis. You can tell who's got a great mental coach and who doesn't. If they're going in and they're anxious and they're worried about what their coaches think, what their sponsors think, what their family thinks, you know, what all these people think, because their whole life has been dedicated to this for 20 years. And if they lose, what does that mean, right? Then they're not going in with the right mentality. And that's basically what we're thinking in medical aesthetics. We're going in thinking, I can't post because I'm worried about what my friends think. I can't post this because what happens if I get critiqued from my family or colleagues or a plastic surgeon, and then they, you know, bring me down. I don't know if I can take that. You can't be thinking about that. You have to have a mindset where you're going in and you have a plan. And your plan is, you know, I always say, you know, focus on the ball. Everything else is noise. And in sports, that means like when you are tracking the ball, there's a difference from looking at or around the ball than trying to see like the laces or the strings of the ball. You should be that precise, because if you're that precise, you're going to be more accurate, and you're not thinking about anything else. You can't. It's very difficult to be that precise. So for me, whenever I'm in this game of medical aesthetics, I'm thinking, keep my eye on the ball, which is my goal, post every day, and that's it. Stay focused, stay in your lane, work. And if anything comes in, like deflections, like say there's a bad call of the ref or I made a bad shot, instead of getting down on myself, it's learn from that and say something positive to yourself. You know what? That was the right shot. Do it again next time. You'll get it. Or work on your fall through. And with medical aesthetics, I use that as kind of like, you know what? It could be right there, actually. Instead of getting defensive, like I could learn from that How can I make that better next time? Thanks. And I'll even say that in the comments. I'll say something positive, like, you know what? That was a great comment. Yeah. Thanks. And all of a sudden, like, things just deflect off, and that really does help.
But that's aesthetics. And I think that's where people get really, subconscious and they get really worried. And like, but that's all aesthetics is I'm trying something in a safe manner. I'm trying something new, like reducing the lips or RHA2 lips or RHA, something new in the lips. I'm trying safely. Did it work well? Yep. Okay. Then it's like an algorithm, like constantly trying. Same thing when it comes to social media. Like I love Mel Robbins and like David Goggins, like all these motivational people, but basically it's like the let them theory, like let them, like Google it when we're off the live. It says Mel Robbins, let them theory, but you have a hater, like let them hate on you, like just honor. And like, honestly, no one above you is going to be hating on you. It's always going to be the person behind you that's going to be like that annoying dog, like biting your ankles. Just keep on going and just let them, like someone wants to leave you. Like, this is for Jess. You were with Jess in Switzerland and she's always worried about like not hiring someone. She's like, I'm scared to hire someone and train them. Then they're going to leave me. I'm like, Jess, let them. Like, I want my injectors to go on and open their own med spas and fly high. And remember Erika Barry when they're like 80 years old and they're rocking chairs, like, wow, she was really good to work with. Like, I want that, but you have to let people do their own thing. Like, you are only in control of your mental. For me, I'm all about sports psychology. I'm like win-win-win mentality always, but mostly like I'm just in it and no one else, everyone else is just like to the side and I'm like constantly blinders on. And then 80% of the time, 20%, I'm a woman, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I have emotions. I'm going to have shitty days where I'm going to come home and be like, fuck, that was a bad day. Like this went wrong. And I say everything comes in threes. So when two things happen or one thing happens, I'm like, not guarded, but I'm like, okay, I just had one eyelid ptosis. Like, where's the other one? I'm always like, just like on my toes where it's like the calm before the storm, and it happens. And I go in now very mentally prepared, like for a game. When I go to a conference, 10 years ago when I went to a conference, no one knew who the hell I was. They could care less. So it wasn't stressful. Now, like everyone does. So I'm on my best behavior. I don't drink. I don't party. I'm in bed before 9 p.m. I act classy and accordingly. You will not find me dancing on the tables. You will not find me doing anything inappropriate because my head's in the game. And that's where not that I would do that maybe 10 years ago, but like my head's in the game and that's where I think you have to be. And I do not talk shit. That rule you have to keep with, because if you do, it just is a cyclical cycle over and over and over again.
So I'm going to say one more last tip for everyone out there. Because when it comes to, this is all angst in your ego. A lot of this that's really what it is. If you want to get down to the nitty gritty, it's your ego taking a little bit of a beating and you have to be ready or you're going to have to figure it out as you go. And it kind of sucks figuring it out as you go. So have a little plan in place. Hopefully you guys could take some tips from, Erika and I, but that also translates to whenever you have clients. Like if you're worried about clients texting you about, and you're like, oh God, what is this? Is this a ptosis or is this going on? Like that will ruin your day. So have a plan in place ahead of time. So right now, right off the bat, we never have an issue. If someone's texting or someone's calling, I never worry about it. What I do is actually, if there's anything that's not perfect or went wrong or anything like that, then it's actually a great way for them to get them back and let them know, hey, by the way, let's act on that right away. Let's go above and beyond for you. And if they see that and you follow up with them even more afterwards, then they're a client for life. It's actually a great way to keep these clients. So if anything ever happens, I'm always seeing it as like a positive, but I go in with that mindset. Otherwise, you're going to get eaten up in this field. So all these little tips, they really do help.
Absolutely. And just enjoy the game, like enjoy it. And the game is you're helping people, you're helping your patients, you're keeping them safe, you're making them feel good. Like when you do even a syringe of filler, or a little Botox or a laser or even skincare, you're changing someone's life. Like the way they feel on the inside and the outside, they reflect each other. And that's what we have to stay really privy to. And it's not about followers or engagement or this competition or this injector. It really is about your patient. And the more you focus on that, the less anxiety you'll have with all the other BS, because it is complete BS. That's all it is. They're just there to distract you and keep you off your game. Stay in the game, stay focused, eyes on the laces, kick at the field goal.
Thank you so much for this, Erika. This is great. I really appreciate it because I think a lot of people do want to hear that, man, it's not only them that have to feel this way. I think all of us feel this way, and then everyone has a different approach on dealing with it. And it's great to see you kind of like just open up and let them know, like, hey, by the way, we're all human. We're all doing our thing. We all have bad days. And, I'm here to share the love.
Yeah.
which is great.
I'm a big runner too. I think having a run, especially when you have a crappy day, nothing better than a summer run that just gets all the anxiety out.
I agree. And that's it. That's like my exit from my YouTube channel, right? Take care of yourselves, exercise daily, be nice to everyone. When I say that, it's like these are all the three things, right? Take care of yourselves. That could be mentally, right? That could be any way that's like important for you. Exercise daily is so, for every reason possible, gets rid of the stress. It sets a routine and it reminds me the only reason why I'm fit is because I have exercise daily. And that's going to, be the same way with my business. I have to do something daily for it. And then be nice to everyone. Honestly, you can throw the shade or you can be nice. So being nice definitely is a winner in my opinion. I think I'm going to see you actually at Aesthetics Next. I was asked to go. So I'll see you then.
It's going to be so fun. Like Aesthetic Next, it's like the amount of presentations, Tiffany's incredible. It's going to be insane. I tell people like, bring your notepad, bring your PC, now they have the apps where you can like record everything, record it all because it's just so much amazing information. I'm so excited.
Let's collab for Patreon. I want to do something together. That'd be great. Another part of this conversation, I think we're going to do this for another video, if you don't mind, a little later on. We're going to talk about the benefit of collaborating and how it can help your business. And I think you have a very, very cool way to collaborate and how it works for you. And I think a lot of people can learn from that. So we'll chat soon about that too. We'll do another Instagram Live.
I love it. Bye. Thank you for having me. Good night, guys.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.
My swollen face from Easy Gel.
Okay.
Bye,
cheers.
guys.